Hey everybody, how's it going? Mr. Clinton has reappeared. However, since he is sleeping, no activity whatsoever, not paying attention, he's still not getting a greenie. So today I wanted to read something from the Gothamist that made me really depressed. It says that desperate New York City tenants are waging bidding wars as rental demand surges. This depresses me because if you follow my channel on a regular basis, you'll kind of probably pick up the idea that I don't like the real estate industry in the city. I don't like the fact that you have people that keep their buildings vacant for insanely long periods of time. I don't like the lying about the amount of space available. I don't like that you have so many apartments where you could just obviously tell that no maintenance has been done in 30 to 40 years. And I was really kind of hoping that this would collapse. Not because I want the city to collapse. I want to be clear. I've grown up here. I lived here for 33 years, and I want to see success for the city. But I think that success, that amazing future needs to occur once everything that exists right now has just kind of rotted away, composted, and then something new comes out of that composted, steaming garbage heap of a real estate market that we currently have. And this does not seem to have happened. The pandemic did result in people leaving the city. It did result in prices coming down by like 5 or 10% momentarily, but it has come roaring back in an insane way, and I don't see anything changing anytime soon. It says at least 70 prospective tenants wrapped around an Upper East Side building earlier this month, financial documents in hand, shouting numbers at a real estate agent as if it is an auction. A few blocks uptown, another broker fielded close to a dozen offers above asking price on a fourth-floor walk-up. A walk-up. So again, if it's a walk-up, you can probably guess that building is 100 years old or 80 years old, like my building, and is going to have the looks of a building that's 100 years old. And in New York City, often that means it's been, probably the last time it was maintained properly as well. In Prospect Heights, a two-bedroom originally listed at $3,750 per month, leased for $4,500. Just to give you some idea, I looked at a one-bedroom in that neighborhood back in 2009, and it was $1,100. Actually, no, I was wrong. $1,200 because the one that I rented instead of was $1,100. So it was $1,200 for a one-bedroom in that neighborhood. Now a two-bedroom is going for $4,500. That's almost 4 times as much money in 12 years. That's insane. As New York City's real estate market continues its dramatic turnaround, stories of tenant bidding wars have ricocheted around the industry. While such battles have long since been a feature of home buying, real estate experts say they are virtually unprecedented for the city's rental market. That began to change this spring as the availability of COVID-19 vaccines brought droves of New Yorkers back to the city, and more recently, employers began ordering their workers back to the office. The sudden surge in demand has added a new wrinkle to the already vexing process of the New York City apartment hunting. Jana Raskoff, a rental agent at Douglas Elliman, said she'd never rented an apartment to a tenant for more than it was listed. Since Labor Day, she said more than half of the units she leased were being bid up, often as much as 20% more than their asking price. There's a sense of urgency and desperation that I've never seen before, says Raskoff. The bidding wars were first waged in the most desirable lower Manhattan neighborhoods, including the West Village and Soho. But brokers say they've been seeing offers above asking price in Upper Manhattan, Midtown, and swaths of Brooklyn. Last month, Brooklyn saw its highest level of lease signings for September since at least 2008, according to the Elliman Market Report. Put in an application for an apartment 3 weeks ago. Just finally heard the landlords went with someone else who offered well above asking on the rent. I've always said it's too easy to find an apartment in Brooklyn, so I'm happy to see the market sorting that out. I don't remember it being easy to find an apartment in Brooklyn. But this makes me sad, because when I show you the prices of things in New York City, when I show you stores that are $75,000 that are empty, or I show you apartments that look like absolute shitholes that are $4,000, people are not just paying that, they're offering to pay more than that. Kirk Douglas, a 26-year-old who works in advertising, said he timed his move from the West Coast to coincide with the New York City Renaissance. After his 3-month sublet ended in September, he decided he wanted to stay in the city and went about searching for a 2-bedroom with a future roommate. When they eventually found the perfect apartment in their budget with outdoor space in Prospect Heights, Douglas said he was informed by a broker that the place would be likely rented above the asking price of $3,750. Again, a 2-bedroom for $3,750 in fucking Brooklyn. Like, get the fuck out of here. Why? We decided not to bid out of principle, and also because the chances were extremely slim, said Douglas. Yes, good, very good. We didn't anticipate it being this challenging. The broker, Christy Ambrosetti, said the apartment received more than 20 bids and ultimately rented for $750 above its asking price. Many of these offers came from people who had lost out on other apartments, the broker said, making them more likely to put in above-market offers, among other desperate measures. The ones that have lost 3 or 4 apartments are acting very aggressive, and they're smart to do so. No, they're not. No, they're not. People are writing personal love letters to the landlords. Again, this is something I would expect a broker to say. Not go to Craigslist, go to the no-fee section or buy owner and try to find something, but to write, it's good for you to be aggressive, pay over asking price, and write a fucking love letter to the landlord. Don't do that. Use the buy owner section on Craigslist. I have used this in the entire time that I've lived on my own in New York City, like 14, 15 years I've been using that feature, and it works. When you go to a broker, you're going to pay more money, and you're going to be pushed into paying more money. It's different than with the commercial real estate market. If you're going for a normal-ass, crappy old apartment like what I have, in my opinion, just my opinion, you don't need to deal with a fucking broker. The emergence of bidding wars comes at a time of growing disparity between the top and bottom half of New York City's rental market, according to Jonathan Miller, head of real estate appraisal firms Miller Samuel Inc. Nearly 20 months into the pandemic, the wealthier half of city renters are chasing COVID-friendly apartments, including those with outdoor space and large common areas for remote work. How many apartments in New York City even have outdoor space? We're seeing very specific types of apartments that consumers are fighting over, Miller said. When you throw a surge in demand against fixed supply, you're going to see bidding wars. The Real Estate Board of New York defended landlords and brokers who encourage bidding wars, which they blamed on the city's failure to add more housing. I agree, there is a failure to add more housing in the city. As with hefty broker fees, there are no laws barring landlords from asking tenants to bid above asking price. Now, when you're adding new housing to the city, you often have to build with specific clauses in there that say you will rent a certain amount of the housing to low-income groups, and there is usually a lot of arguing and fighting before you're actually able to even break ground on building something new. And I understand where this is coming from. There is a law of supply and demand, which is that if you increase supply, that you will get... Did you seriously just fall off your chair? Are you drunk, Erica? You're just sitting on a chair and you just almost fell off the chair. Okay, good quality distraction. You woke up Mr. Clinton. Anyway, I can't believe you just fell off your chair. Back to what I was saying. The idea is if you increase supply with a static amount of demand that the price will go down, and this is what people who live outside the city tend to think, or people who are more on the right side of the aisle politically. Why don't you just allow them to increase supply so that prices go down? And the people inside the city are usually against that, because what happens to those apartments is they keep the price high, and if nobody rents it, they'll just let it stay empty for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years, and you will just have this eyesore, which is this luxury building with nobody living in it, which just pisses off the people in the city. So there really is this kind of no win here. We're having these huge fluctuations in the housing market right now, and we know that whatever starts at the top of the market always makes its way down, said Shapiro. People paying 20% over asking price is not good for our city. I agree that this is not good for the city, and really, at the end of the day, this really comes down to people making choices to opt out, to say no. To just say, no, I'm not doing that. And that's a choice that I'm making as I travel to different areas around the country and check out different areas to live in. I'm not paying above asking price for an apartment. I am not entering a bidding war for a 100-year-old, 400-square-foot shitbox to pay over $4,000 a month for it. That's just... Like, in principle, that's not something that I'll do. I'll pay for a parking spot and sleep in my fucking car before I pay that much for an apartment that is in dilapidated condition. And when you see the comments, just the rented for above asking price, and the guy has the little thing from How I Met Your Mother of Barney's head exploding. The willingness to pay extra in rent when mortgage rates are so low is ahead of absurd. Seems more like psycho. If you can manage $4K a month, buy, even if it's a studio buy. Otherwise, just withdraw your cash and burn it. Now, again, I kind of agree there, but when you look at the cost of apartments to own it, plus the maintenance, it almost doesn't wind up making sense. He says you're assuming these same people have 20% plus for a down payment. Many probably don't, and many of them are probably renting these apartments to take them with 3 or 4 roommates. This is depressing. I'll just be honest. This is highly depressing. I did not want to see New York City itself fail. I wanted to see certain elements of the city fall flat on their face, so that they could be reborn in a beautiful fashion. Again, when you see that a forest, there's been a forest fire or something and everything kind of composts down, once everything composts down, that's necessary for something beautiful to grow afterwards. And it doesn't seem like that ever happened. It's kind of like the shitty, dying, nasty looking, poisoned old tree just had a couple of branches chopped off so it looked uglier, and now they're slowly starting to grow back even uglier than before. This is crazy. Please, for the love of God, my advice for people that are going to be looking for places in the city. Again, I've lived here for a very long time, is to go over here, go to Craigslist. You go click apartments/housing, and then there's a little button. There's going to be a little button somewhere around here to look for places that are no broker fee. And there's also places to look by owner, where you could just look for a place where the owner is the one listing it. And when you do that, you're less likely to find insane, crazy bidding wars. The prices are still insane. They are still going to be insane. But just slum it up a little bit. Seriously, just slum it up a little bit on Craigslist and on sites like this, word of mouth, and you'll probably be able to find something where you're not going to be paying out the ass. You may not have an elevator, you may not have ceiling-to-floor glass or live in a luxury building, but you're not going to get fucking ripped off either. And in my opinion, that is worth it. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. Don't pay over asking price for an apartment in New York City. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Just stop. Don't give the building owners the satisfaction. Just don't. Because the thing, again, you know what I say about Apple and other companies? When Apple does something anti-repair, everybody else copies it. The shit that's happening in New York, you can laugh. You all can laugh. You all people in the Midwest and the rural areas can go, ha, 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 New York's so dumb. This is going to come to your area. Trust me. The shit that happens in New York City, this is going to wind up occurring in the rest of the country at some point. It's going to have a little ripple effect. So it's best that we nip it in the ass right here before this moves to the rest of the country. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. See you later.